Add interest to your floral die cuts by adding a little bit of inking. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Creative Coloring with Erum. Today I will be stepping up my floral die cuts by adding a bit of inking along the edges to enhance them and to add a bit of 4 dimension. I will be using the Craft Flower Magnolia layering die set. The die set creates 1 flower and 1 leaf. For the flowers, I will be using the Cherry Blossom Gradient cardstock, and since there are 5 layers for the flower and only 4 cardstocks, I will cut the first 2 layers out of the darkest one. For the leaves, I used the Green Meadows cardstock and cut out 3 leaves. And for the flower center, I used Warm Sunshine and Caramel Toffee. To change the color of the 2 of the same color die cuts from the pink one, I will use the Raspberry Crisp dye ink and apply it heavy-handedly with a small blending brush on the very first layer, which is the base layer of the flower. Then I will apply the same ink on the edge of the second layer, and this will give it a bit of a dimension, and it does make a lot of difference. I will also add a bit of inking on the center of the layer. Just to change the tone of the layer a little bit, I will use a small blending tool and apply Cosmic Berry Crisp dye ink to some of the places of this die cut. Then I will do the same with the third layer and apply the leftover ink on some of the portions. I won't be overdoing this as to change the color extremely. I just want to add a little bit of inking so that it enhances the die cut. I then thought I could even add a little bit of purple to my layer, so that I brought in Lavender Fields dye ink and added it slightly. I put the layers together to see where the purple would look good and then added a little bit more of it. I will repeat the same for the topmost layer as well. The inking does add a lot more to the flower. I do this with all my die cuts whenever I use plain cardstock. You will be surprised if you combine different ink families in completely different cardstock colors. Once all the layers have a little bit of inking on the edges, I will use liquid adhesive to put them together. I will be following the guide that is on the back of the packaging. The addition of purple ink does look really good in the end when you put all the flower layers together. I will apply the leftover pink ink onto the yellow flower centers. This will create an orangey hue. You don't have to take out an orange ink specifically for this purpose. You can just use the leftover ink on the blending tool. For the leaves, I will change the tone of the base layer and make it warmer. I will use the Grassfield Crisp dye ink and apply it onto the end of the leaf a little bit more than on the tip. There was a little bit of water on the palette that I'm using. That's why you see a smudge on my leaf layer. For the second layer, I will use the Shadow Creek dye ink, just adding a little bit of shading here at the base of the die cut. For the final layer, I will use the Mountain Pine dye ink and apply it with a mini blending brush. I will just bounce the brush as this is a delicate layer and I don't want to tear it. Then I will adhere these layers with liquid adhesive. Now I have this Deck Blanks 3D embossing folder, and I embossed my card front using this folder. To add a bit of interest and a rustic look to my card front, I will use Milk Chocolate Crisp dye ink and apply this with my blending brush with a very light hand. I'll make sure to start blending this from my craft mat onto the panel in order to take off any excess ink, as I just want to enhance the embossed design. And you can see right away how gorgeous the texture looks. I will also make sure to apply a bit more inking to the periphery of the panel and leave the center a bit lighter. Next, I will adhere the panel onto the card base with foam tape. Then I will add fine black splatters to the card front. I should have done this before adhering the panel onto the card front to avoid splatters on the card base. Now I will adhere the flower onto the card front with instant dimension foam tape. But first I thought I would just pinch the leaves a bit so they aren't as flat. You just need to pinch the tips and not the base. Keep the base flat so it's easier to attach to the card panel. Then I will adhere all of them with foam tape. For the sentiment, I'm using the All About You word die set. I die cut the hello, shadow and word die cuts, which I will adhere together, and then pop them up onto the floral die cut partially. To finish, I will adhere a few satin gold sequins and my card is done. I hope you enjoyed today's project. I hope to see you next week. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Hello there! Did that video just spark your creativity? And do you want more project ideas and inspiration videos too? Well, if you do, please make sure that you subscribe to the Alternate YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you do click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye!